Well, yeah, and let's go back and look at what's happened. I'll go through the events that could affect the poll, and as a pollster, and you and I will discuss it. You can add your comments about what you think. But first of all, the Kennedy survey, and you wrote about it when I released it in May. I cautioned everyone, including the candidates, that Kennedy had gotten a lot of publicity during the session. He was the adversary of John Bel Edwards, and he has this catchy slogan. And with Republicans and conservatives, he was in the news daily. And so his numbers were hot, about 31%, I think. I think Fayard had him at 30. But at the time, I cautioned him and everybody else that I thought these numbers were artificially high because of the inordinate amount of publicity he got with his public battle with John Bel Edwards. So I said that at the time, and we're looking at this poll today, and two things happened, and he hasn't spent a lot of time on his money on TV, which he has corrected as of today. He's running TV, number one. But number two, something happened. Boustany, who's a congressman from Acadiana, went up on television, spent a lot of time and effort in his base, and he grew primarily in his base. He was about 8 or 9, 10%, wherever you want to put him, and he jumped up by primarily growth in his congressional base, or the people who know him in Acadiana know him best. And of course, Kennedy's very well known in there, and Kennedy's very popular in there, but Boustany's their senator, and he's been campaigning and running ads saying, I'm your congressman, I want to be your senator, and telling him why. So he was able to push some of Kennedy's votes away from him on his popularity related to being a state treasurer. He took that away from him and changed the dynamics and said, basically, forget about Kennedy, I'm your congressman. And, so he did grow in his base at John's expense, and probably a couple other points, 2 or 3 points from who knows who, but it was effective and it worked. Fayard had an event that I think you saw a big splash in and around New Orleans, even up to Baton Rouge, and probably.
Actually, let me pause you right there, okay? So, because I want to deal with those two, at least with those two candidates, and so John Kennedy had his numbers were what, and Boustany.
In this poll, we have Kennedy now we were talking about around 30%, and he's now 17, and Boustany is now 15. I mean, almost a statistical dead heat.
Sure.
So you can see that a big base of voters, by the way, one of the biggest base of voters is when you take all of Acadiana, and it's primarily a Republican area. It's not like East Baton Rouge Parish, where we have 40+% African American, and Shreveport has that. It doesn't have a big urban area like Baton Rouge or Shreveport or New Orleans. It has African American voters, but they are in the 18% or 20% or 23%, maybe 25%. So that Boustany was able, as a Republican, was able to dominate and go back in and take voters away from Kennedy, who was getting it because his popularity was as a treasurer, and he hasn't yet made the case that you should vote for me now for senator versus you like me as your treasurer. So, and Boustany took advantage of that.
Candidate.
I don't know, Steve. We didn't touch that in the poll because it erupted just as we were taking the poll, and something like that takes a while to permeate a lot of voters. And this is a statewide poll, and it primarily probably was more of a right around here in Baton Rouge with bloggers and stuff like that. So as far as being on TV and being a big issue that permeated the electorate, I doubt if it did. But so it didn't hurt Obviously, I don't think it hurt Boustany. We don't know what that'll end up or where it's going, but at the present time, it doesn't show anything, and I don't think it hurt Kennedy. I think both of them kind of had enough of it and left it alone. So, but that's still sitting around, and we don't know where that's going.
Sure. But
you're correct. It wasn't an explosion that was big enough to impact the poll. If it helped Boustany, it might have taken 2 points from Boustany. It might have taken a point. I don't know. It might have taken a couple points away from Kennedy and Acadiana because he was attacking one of their own.
Right.
We didn't try to measure. That's my point. But it could go either way. You're not incorrect. It's possible it hurt one or the other.